Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coachyourPO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coachyourPO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our TGIF and Friday episode this week with Matthew Green. Hi, Matthew. Welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. Thank you for having me. Happy Friday.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. And today is the Product Owner episode, so we shall dive into that right away. We'll share a great example later on, but let's first start with the tough one. What might have been, Matthew, the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career? Share that with us.
So I think it would be the product owner as super person. And it's always well-intended. So the product owner I'm thinking of in this case was a wonderfully talented person. It had great skills, great communicator, had lots of things going for them, but they couldn't let go of anything. And so they had this understanding that their world was they had to define everything so that there would never be a question that would ever come back from the team about the work that got put in, which is antithetical to all the things that we really want out of a Scrum implementation. We want there to be conversation. We want there to be questions. We want there to be dialogue and collaboration. And, you know, as the saying goes, a user story is a reservation for a conversation. That was not the way this person wanted to think about it.
Well, why did that person potentially got to that place? Of course, they might have started already like that.
A bit of it was a cultural hangover, which was the organization had previously incentivized the behavior that she was exhibiting. That was how you succeeded. That was sort of how she got named to the product owner role, was she was seen as being the person who knew everything and could take care of everything. And so it was very hard to let go of those success factors for her because that's what got her to where she was. But it slowed the team down because what ended up happening is the product owner became the biggest bottleneck for the team, because what ended up happening is the team had more capacity than she did, and she couldn't ever keep enough work ready in the backlog for them to do anything.
In fact, I would go as far as saying that that's in itself a great symptom of this type of anti-pattern, right? I mean, if we think about it just for a second, having an idea is free. You're walking the dog and you get an idea. You're having a shower, you get an idea. You're cooking, you get an idea. Ideas are free. So when the PO is hamstrung, because in this particular case, they have to write all the stories, they have to answer all the questions, etc., they then get into this dynamic of not being able to keep up with the team.
Yep.
And at that point, we can say that either the PO is doing this, like, you know, wanting to be part of everything, every conversation, defining everything, or they might be absent. But in this case, it's clear that the PO isn't able to deliver what the team needs. But the PO's job is the fastest job in the whole delivery cycle, right? It's to come up with the idea. Now, of course, we have refinement, and the team can come in and help the PO refine what that idea means in practice. But when the PO needs to know everything before refinement, it kind of defeats the purpose of you even using Scrum. It's almost as if we are going back to the good old waterfall days of having the requirements written ahead of the team even getting started.
Absolutely. And that was part of the problem in this particular instance, was they self-defined success as a story shouldn't have any questions come up in refinement.
Which is exactly the opposite of what we would expect.
Exactly.
Brilliant. And a great example. And it shows that very often the anti-patterns emerge from people wanting to do good. It's not about people being bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people want to do good. Most people don't come at it with, I'm just going to really mess this up.
And this is why it's so important for us Scrum Masters to look at the symptoms, because we can help these people do as good as they want or even better if we just do small changes.
Absolutely.
And these small changes are what we try to do to get to that great product owner. And that's the story we want to hear next, Matthew. Share with us what might have been the best product owner that you've ever worked with in your career.
Well, I'm cheating a little bit here because there's product, I think of it as the product owner as catalyst. And I can't say that I've ever met this person or that I've actually worked with this person, but I've worked with, building it out of the aggregate, I've worked with really good product owners that each had some of these traits. So when I'm talking to product owners and I'm coaching product owners, this is the way I try to frame what the team needs from them. And I think about it as they need to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. The best product owners are problem focused. They're going to let the team figure out what's the best way to solve the problem, and they'll work with the team to make sure that we're balancing all the things that we need to balance, like, is it valuable, is it feasible, is it usable? And they'll be at the center of that conversation, but they're not going to own making that decision. But they'll fall in love with the problem they want to solve. And then they have outstanding relationships. These are the people that when the team runs into a question or even a problem, we talk a lot about the Scrum Masters responsible for removing impediments. I think the product owner has a role in that as well, because some of the impediments that we have is we just don't understand, and there's unclear product stuff that is preventing the team from moving forward. And a product owner who has great relationships back into the organization and back into the business can absolutely clear a path for the team to make them effective at delivery, because they're able to quickly get the responses the team needs to be able to continue to move the work forward.
Or make the decisions, right? Because sometimes it's not known in advance. The team faces a new problem, they come up with a question, and they make the decision to enable the team to deliver.
Correct. Because sometimes those relationships are needed to give them the chutzpah to be able to feel comfortable making those decisions. In an organization that's very hierarchical, that sometimes can be very difficult for a product owner to do, but the relationships improve their courage. So, and then they protected the team. A lot of teams that I've talked to, we've all run into the shoulder tap problem. Joe, can you please just do this for me? And what as a coach, what I've talked to a lot of teams about is, your answer is easy. You don't have to say yes or no. You say your answer is always yes, but it's a yes, but. Yes, but you need to go talk to the product owner. And if they say yes, we'll follow whatever she tells us to do in terms of what's important. And so now that product owner becomes a heat shield for the team, because what we're doing is we're retraining the organization to go to the product owner. And that product owner needs to embrace that kind of behavior from the team and promote it as well. So they need to protect the team by being a good work intake funnel and making sure that the organization understands where work needs to go to get done quickest.
And also a conflict resolution person, right? Because sometimes the work that comes in is as a result of solving a conflict.
Right. And then the last part is that they trust the team. They trust the people who are building the product to build it right. They don't try to micromanage it. I've run it. So that's sort of another product owner anti-pattern, not one that I talked about in the last one. But we have product owners that feel like they need to design the solution rather than define the problem. And trusting the team to come up with the right solution to a well-defined problem is also a key trait of that great product owner in my mind.
Yeah, and answering questions and perhaps making those decisions that need to be done so that the team can actually be sure that they have a solution, something that is applicable to the problem at hand.
Well, and that's where their role comes in. Is I think we've been talking a lot here where I'm currently out about the purpose of sprint review and the importance of feedback. And so the other part of that is that they're responsible for making sure that the right people are at the review to give the team the feedback that they need based upon the increment that they delivered based upon what they plan to deliver in sprint planning, and understanding the connection between the two events. And once I'm done with sprint planning as a product owner, I need to go start talking to people saying, hey, we're going to deliver, we plan to have this thing ready for the end of our sprint. I really need you at that sprint review so that the team can have feedback from you on what they just built, because demo has sort of become a nasty word, right? And we're more focused on the mechanics of show and tell than actually getting feedback.
Yeah, and that feedback is critical for the team, but it is also critical for the product owner, because the team also gives feedback to the product owner.
Yep.
That's a great perspective, a great thing to highlight when it comes to that feedback collection. Matthew, unfortunately, we're getting close to the end, but before we do go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I'm on LinkedIn, and I think you'll have my LinkedIn in the profile. And although I don't use it much, I also have a Twitter that's at BMT Green. I think it's got an underscore in it, but I'm sure that that'll also be linked in the show notes.
Absolutely, we'll put the links in the show notes so that people can reach out and ask questions. There was a lot of great insights. Why not share an appreciation message with Matthew? Matthew, on my part, I appreciate you being here. So thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you, Vasco. I've enjoyed it.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over. But there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.